Welcome to Healing Beyond the Trauma. My name is Megan Alves. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And this podcast, I want to break the stigma around mental health and have real, unfiltered conversations about healing. Some stories are going to be raw, even triggering at times, but they're real and they're honest because healing starts with honesty. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, stuck, or like you're carrying it all, you're not. Here, you're going to gain validation, practical tools, and a new perspective to move forward. Because healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming your future. So let's dive in. Hey, and welcome back to another episode, Mental Summit Beyond the Trauma. My name is Megan Alves, and I always say this, but I'm so excited to introduce our guest today to an energy ball. I mean, seriously, we hopped on a call a few months ago, and her energy, you guys, you're in for a treat. Kaila Sachse, and she is with Umari Digital, and she's going to let us know how she got started as a mom, as a business owner, as a podcast host. She's doing all the things. And when her and I hopped on a call, one of the things that we said is like, we're just doing it. We're just figuring it out. And I am in the midst. If anybody's on my social media, I mean, this is February, and I am market research to the core, just seeing where moms are at so I can meet their needs. And I've heard over and over again, I just wish I could have the energy. I wish I could have the motivation like you. And I was like, Kaila, we got to hop on a podcast. So welcome. And thank you so much for taking the time on this beautiful Monday morning. Please introduce yourself. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you too, Megan. I've been so excited. Yeah, our last chat was so fun. I feel like you and I could talk for hours, which we won't put our listeners through. Like, don't worry, guys. We'll be mindful of time.
Maybe. These conversations can be fun, you know?
Yeah, it'll be the first 5-hour podcast episode.
Absolutely. We hopped on today, you guys, and I was like, I got to just hit record because we're going to start talking and then we're going to be like, oh, I should have recorded. So I didn't even really get to spend a ton of time with her before we hopped on because I love your energy. And as soon as I met, I was like, I feel like I've known you forever. And I mean, this is the beauty of just getting uncomfortable and making the call. Braxton introduced you and I, and he just had that feeling. He's like, you guys need to meet. And I was like, oh, I see why.
Yeah, he totally nailed it. We're like soul sisters.
Yes.
We for sure, we knew each other in a past lifetime.
Absolutely.
Because the way that we just instantly jived, it was kismet.
Yeah, and we shared a lot of stuff. So tell the listeners, what you're up to. Give us some insight of what you're doing within your businesshood, momhood. Just fill us in.
So many things. So first and foremost, I am a mama of a toddler. He is turning 3 in a few weeks. And that has been its own journey. As if you're a parent, you get it.
Yeah. And toddlerhood, it really comes with this ball of energy. And then you add in business ownership and momhood and toddlerhood. It's a wild, but I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. I don't know what season you're in because they're not all fun. Let me just say this toddler, I'm in the teenage mom stage and it's not all fun, but it's so beautiful, right? So,
oh my gosh, let me tell you. So first, before I became a mom, I was a business owner, and I feel like that helped me mentally prepare for chaos, if you will.
Yeah.
I also have I had a chaotic childhood. That's a totally different story. But so I just have this propensity for crazy and being able to just navigate it in my own way, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a mom with all of that craziness. I was just like, oh, okay, it's just adding a layer onto the crazy. And let me be clear. I do like structure. I do like calm and peace. I've made peace with peace.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's something I've been able to work through. My whole 20s were dedicated to finding myself, grounding myself, and redirecting my compass so that I'm going in a direction that feels totally right for me, which generally I've been good at, but now I'm dialed in. I know what I want. I'm cool. I'm right now in this current stage of life. I just want peace and quiet, and I'm not overloading all of our schedules with all of the things. People have asked me 15 times by this point, "Oh, are you and your toddler doing mommy and me classes?" I'm like, "No, I'm definitely not. I just
Yeah.
want to chill out with him when I'm watching him and just hang out, play trains or whatever it is he wants to do." Like,
I
that's
love
it.
that, like, those deep connection bonds, and it is we have such a pull as moms, and especially as our kids start to get a little bit older and just all the things that we could be doing, and
Mhm.
I love how you said, in your 20s, you made peace with peace. I mean, girl, I wasn't even probably mid-30s that I really realized, and it was a health scare that they were like, "Girl, your adrenal glands aren't even functioning. You have been going, going, going
Mm.
so fast, so much that your body was like, cool, we're just going to tap out here and you
Mhm.
take over because we can't even function this fast. And
Mm-mm.
and that's when I really realized, oh my gosh, I've got to slow down. I have just been going and there's a lot to say about that, right? Like maybe childhood, just like the perfection part of myself, just wanting to find this space. And really my drive was like when my kids get older, I want to have the freedom to be really present with them. And
Yeah.
so when you say, and like for those moms, like if you're like, holy crap, I'm way past my 20s to make peace with peace, y'all, it's not too late. And I
Yeah.
hope you guys listening to this, I mean, Kayla's probably going to give us some insight of how she did that. I would love to know. But it's not too late because even though it was like,
Mm-mm.
and I mean, it wasn't like a drastic health scare. It was just a light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, going this fast means that my body can't even keep up, and it wasn't worth it for me any longer to be running the marathon. It was like, "Oh, I can just, like, step off the track for a minute, calm, reconnect, and when I have energy, get back on the track instead of just burning myself out." So,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit as you started business first. So you and I are on, like, kind of opposites. Like, I was in corporate type mental health and then went into business entrepreneurship when my kids were a little bit older. When I
Hmm.
say a little bit older, they're like 8 and 10. So,
It's okay.
and so tell us a little bit how that transition looked for you and what kind of shifted, if anything.
Yeah, so just to edify your journey for a second,
Oh, yeah.
you are not the only mom who started a business when your kids were quote unquote older.
Yeah.
Okay, so I host a podcast. I talk to parents who are also business owners, and I always ask like, what came first for you? And it's all across the board. And
Yeah.
what I'm gathering from that journey is that there is no right way to do life. Right? Like
Yeah.
if you're
Hell
inspired to
yes.
start right, like if you're inspired to do business before you have kids, go for it. If you're inspired after you have kids, great. Like
Mhm.
there's something to learn from every journey and just getting to do what it is that you want to do is just the major blessing that we get to lean
Yeah.
into. So,
And I love
you know.
that word so much, like just being inspired because I think maybe in the business world we hear motivated a lot, right? Like I want to be
Mhm.
more motivated. I want motivation to do what you're doing. I do not wake up every day and feel motivated. I don't know about you.
No, no. I wake up, let me tell you, friends, okay, I wake up at 6 a.m. and after having a toddler go in and out of my bed all night, right? Because he has his own little bed next to us. He lasts there for a few hours and then he crawls in with mommy and daddy. Sometimes we chuck him back into his bed, sometimes we just don't.
Yeah.
But he also, and just add a layer onto that, he has eczema. So he'll be like, last night,
Mm.
4:30 a.m. He's scratching, the poor kid. And I'm like, I put lotion on you. Come on, man. But
Oh,
he's like scratching, and I'm just thinking, okay, I have to wake up at 6 and get prepared for today's sh-
this recording,
podcast
your
and for
work.
this recording. Exactly, for work, like all of the things. But yeah, it's not an easy road. It's definitely not an easy road.
Yeah. So let's go. I mean, you and I are gonna probably take 50 roads at a time. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. My bad. I
no.
totally got us off topic.
Are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
kidding? I'm gonna get us. So we'll help each other here. So
Great.
tell us a little bit about that journey. Like what really pushed you in to start your own business and what did that look like for you? And tell us a little bit about
Okay.
your business too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do the A to Z.
Yeah.
First, I studied as a graphic designer. I graduated with my degree, did the whole thing, and I had the opportunity to either go into web design or fashion. And spoiler alert, I work as a web designer now. But way back then, I did not choose web design, I chose fashion. And I ended up working as like a junior graphic designer in a far corner desk of this dingy office. Fashion is not glamorous, by the way.
Right.
And it was just it was a terrible experience. Mentally, emotionally, I worked with people who did not see each other as human. So
Mm.
there was that subhuman kind of aspect.
Yeah.
I was also sexually assaulted on the job, which is like its own thing. That was terrible.
I'm so
But
sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I mean, as I feel like as women, like unfortunately, we've all had our taste of what it's like to be degraded.
Yeah.
Not to normalize it, it's definitely not okay.
Right,
It
right.
just it just was what it was. For me, it was a growth opportunity. I had the opportunity to stand up for myself and say, you know what, that was not cool.
Yeah.
Um, which is its own story. But so then after that, I worked a different job, also as a graphic designer on more of a junior level. In that job, I'm so thankful for this. My boss saw all of my potential and helped me grow into all these different roles that I had no idea were possible for myself.
Yes.
And so I went into like customer service. I'm answering phones. Like that was really uncomfortable for me, but I did it anyway. Worked in accounts receivable. That's its own kind of like asking people to pay up. That's
Right.
not very comfortable.
Yeah, what a
I'm
great skill to be able to like practice that in somebody's business and learn the ins and outs. So you got
Yes.
a taste of customer service, you got a taste of, collecting the money.
Yeah, collecting the money. On top of that, she was working with all these different big vendors, and so I had the opportunity to help her with shipping too. It was a smaller company, so I got to wear many hats. On one end it's very difficult to wear many hats. On the
Yeah.
other end, it really instilled in me this sense of grit and this sense of like, oh, if I want to do well at this thing, I'm just going to go and attack it and do it.
Yeah.
And so very action oriented. And so here I am. I'm answering phones. I'm hustling to make sure the invoices are getting paid, and I'm learning all of that. I'm handling this shipping, which is much more than just slapping a label on a box and letting it go out the door. Like there's so many before and after steps that come with that too.
Oh,
And by the end of that experience, I was like, wow, I feel confident in business. I feel like I understand, at least like for an e-commerce type of business, I really understand this business model, and it's something I'd like to enjoy more of. And
love
and
it.
on a larger scale, instead of working for just one person, why not help many clients at the same time? And so I eventually made that shift, and oh my gosh, that was the best decision I could have ever made for myself. I I felt so empowered. I stepped into a new world that was totally within my, I'm going to put this in air quotes, control, because
Right.
realistically we don't have control. We kind of have to let go in order to bear more fruit, but that's a different story. Anyway.
Right, but that's so true, right? Like
Yeah.
you come from, working in a business for
Mhm.
somebody and helping them kind of grow that business
Mhm.
and it's great that you had a lot of those experiences because I want to say that a lot of and you can back me up here because you definitely do the podcast a lot more on the business side, but a lot of people that I talk to when I go out and I'm networking within businesses, oftentimes it is like I was not prepared for the whole back end of business and
Mhm.
how to really kind of do all the things. And I mean, that's coming from therapists I met to, marketing to I mean, the plethora of people that I've met. And so I love to hear you say that, you got that taste of it and you're like, I can do this at a bigger, but it still wasn't at the capacity that you're like, I feel like fully in control of this business because more times than not, you're not in control and there's so many variables. And I think
Mhm.
that that's just such a testament from what you shared so far of the mindset that really plays into business ownership and entrepreneurship is you had the taste and unfortunately were gifted it, and I say gifted very lightly, but you grew from that experience of sexual assault and from that experience really created a step of standing up for yourself. And unfortunately, there's, those types of experiences what creates so much grit and strength. And then on top of that, here's these business opportunities. And without trying it, oftentimes I have people come to me and they're like, Megan, I want to grow my confidence. And I'm like, well, there's one thing about confidence on paper, right? Like we could talk about what that looks like, but you have to go through these lived experiences in order to have these check boxes of confidence.
Yeah.
Right? And it's fortunate, unfortunate, especially in that circumstance. But when we find the victor mentality over the victim mentality of that growth and overcoming those experiences, tell us a little bit about what that mindset shift looked like, since we've already talked about, like, we weren't really motivated, we didn't have a lot of experience in it. It was just kind of like putting our toes in and then making that leap. So tell us a little bit about that mindset for that perseverance. And I hear purpose in there.
Oh, girl, the purpose runs deep. You touched on this, which is the victim mindset versus the victor mindset. I'll tell you what, the most difficult times in my life have been when I have victimized myself. And
Yeah,
this isn't to say like, the sexual assault happened, right? I definitely was a victim in that moment.
absolutely.
I had the decision whether to carry forward and say, I'm a victim, like everything is happening to me. How, what, I can't even like
Right.
verbalize what it's like to be a victim. It's really hard for me to play that role,
You've done quite
right?
a bit of work there, I would venture to say.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
my thing is, if there is anything that we can do it, right?
Mm,
If there is any sort of action that can be taken, take it. Right. And,
yeah.
and obviously, this is like within reason, thinking logically about the repercussions of our actions. And this is, that's keeping that in mind too. I'm
Right.
not saying like go out there and be reckless, but like
Yeah.
if there's anything that you can do in a situation, just do it. And
Mm.
if it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, what did you learn and how can you move forward?
Yeah.
It's not getting stuck in the ruts of victimhood
Yeah. And
because it is easy. Go
it
ahead.
is easy, and it is hard to get out of it too, and so I wanna kinda,
Mhm.
like, put a little asterisk there too, is that oftentimes, if anyone's listening and they're like, "Okay, cool, this sounds great, but how do I do that?" And oftentimes it really
Yeah.
is about, at least from my experience, and yes, I'm gonna, really lean on therapy here, because
Yes.
this isn't a space that is an easy road to move from victim to victor when the mentality is stuck. And oftentimes it
Mhm.
does take the outside resource to say, hey, let's think about this. And I know firsthand how freaking hard it is to find somebody to help you through that. And so oftentimes I say, if there's something to do, knowledge is so powerful when we go through those experiences. So when I hear you say these things, that like you just do something, it is about the baby steps that you can take to
Yes.
gain control back in a situation that you lost all that control. And victim to victor mentality is not about liking or condoning what has happened at all. It
No.
really is about learning small ways to add up to gain that control back after an experience like that. And so it isn't easy. So that's like two of the things I would put in there. What would you add to that as far as your lived experiences kind of getting through that to victor mentality?
Yeah, no, therapy is an excellent resource. That is what helped me be able to move through that time period. So the essay happened. I go to therapy. I'm working through it. At that same time, I go to a new job. That was the one where I was able to gain the ranks and learn everything about business. And I had developed my confidence because of therapy
Mhm.
to the point where I was able to jump ship from my job and go solo. Like that was a huge leap of faith.
Huge.
Thankfully, too, at the same time, I will note my frontal lobe was still developing, so that like helped me.
Yeah,
Like
because how old were you? You were young at that point.
I was young. Oh my gosh, when did I? Okay, now I'm like dating myself. have been 9 years solo. So I was what, 24, 25?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Brain's not
know,
even fully
it was
developed until
right.
around 25, and then you have lived experiences, and it's gonna take a little bit longer, friends.
Yes, yes. So, the therapy is what helped me grow my confidence all through that chaotic time. And I'll say like the job that I worked where I was raising the ranks, that was not an easy situation. Right? Like
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of learning and trying new things and that was like scary in and of itself, but that work
Yeah.
environment too was not healthy.
Mhm.
So I go from two back-to-back toxic workplaces in an industry that's known for toxicity to be to peel back the
Right.
curtain a little bit. It's not a great industry. And that was constantly beating me down, but at the same time, I'm going to therapy, I'm working on myself, that's building me back up.
Mm.
And this is something I'd shared with you offline during our last chat, but my therapist wouldn't let me go. I got to the point where I told him, I'm like, "Hey, like I'm
Okay.
ready to go off on my own." And he was like, "No, you still need more help." And I had this like this voice inside of me saying, "You know what? Like I hear you. I respect your professional opinion and also let me just try this. Let me just
Yeah.
try going out in the world because look, at the end of the day, I could go out, I could try it, I could fall flat on my face, and then I can come back to therapy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What's
Yes.
the worst that could happen, really? Like
Yeah.
thinking about the worst case scenario. It's
And
not that big
and
of a
we
deal.
always have things to work on, and I will always be that therapist that will say, obviously we can't say how many sessions, right? Even as, a trauma therapist, but what I can say is that we're going to move the needle until you're really feeling like you can live life on your own. And guess what? Yeah, that's exactly it. If it doesn't go well, you come right back and I'm going to create that space. And most therapists, will be able to have the capacity to do that most, right? Some therapists that are in really big agencies makes it a little bit harder, which is what we're kind of talking about, right? But,
Mhm.
you know, I love that you trusted yourself. And although the recommendation, yes, we're going to trust professional recommendations, but we also have, and that's confidence. Like, kudos to you to be able to say, you know what, I hear you. Thank you so much. But I'm going to give this a shot because I trust in where I'm at right now. That's
Mhm.
huge. That,
Yeah, yeah. I remember having a conversation later on with the life coach. I was in another rut and I reached out for help again.
yeah.
And the life coach, he and I were talking about, I think it was confidence. I think that was like the main topic. We were talking about confidence. And I was like, "Hey," his name was Andy. I was like, "Hey Andy, what do I do about gaining confidence in this situation? Like I just feel like I'm stuck." And he's like, "Kayla, you have a toolbox full of tools that you can just reach right in and utilize. You have what it takes and you've done it before.
Mhm.
So you're going to be okay. You're always going to land on your feet." And it was that aha moment that was like, "Oh my gosh, that was the same feeling that I had when I jumped ship twice," right? Like, 'cause I
Right.
quit the first job and then I quit the second job. Like, I was able to do that twice and move forward into my business. Like, okay, it's just that self-understanding of what I'm capable of
Yeah.
and more. Like,
I
knowing that
love
if
that.
I'm tested, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah. And that comes from those lived experiences. And I often hear, and we call these in the clinical world, like the cognitive distortions where we minimize what we actually have been able to accomplish or do. And so
Mm,
the brain has a hard time seeing those accomplishments and being able to celebrate those accomplishments, especially for my really high achievers. They tend to minimize those ones.
mhm.
And then what happens is when we miss those celebrations, then we don't get a checkbox in that confidence area of like, oh yeah, hey, brain, remember that time that we were capable of this? Like, dude, let's give it a whirl. And you know what? Worst case, like we'll pick up the pieces and we can try again. Um, and that I love to hear you say that because it is every time it's going to be scary. There hasn't been anything that I've done in business that I wasn't. questioning if I was capable of doing it, and it was always like, you know what? There's YouTube videos on this. I'm going to figure this out. Oh, you know what? I didn't even press record on that entire podcast that first time and I lost that whole thing, or I didn't save it. And it wasn't the end of the world, right? Or I
Yeah.
said a really stupid thing and you know what? I'm human. And so then I took a step back and I'm going to kind of think things through a little. We're all human. And so lived experiences is what makes these tough situations and these scary situations even better to be able to grow through them. So I think, for those listening that I hope you're hearing anyways, that this is that solid reminder that although you may see somebody like doing these really successful things or being at this area that you're like, I wish I could do that. Y'all, you can. It's just about taking that leap of faith and trust in yourself. And then ask for help if you don't know what you're doing, right? Like I've heard
Yeah.
therapists, business coaches, you and I talked about podcast support. Like, I mean, I hired somebody to help me figure this stuff out, right? I have tons of mentors when it comes to the clinical realm that I've been able to lean back on when things get a little tricky and I don't quite have that answer. And then going out of your comfort zone, like you and I touched base, and there was a few times I was like, oh, what does this like digital thing mean? And I'm like, okay, if I have a bigger question, I'm sure I can just send Kaila a message and she'd be like, look
1,000%.
over here, right? So
Yeah.
as we kind of like go back a little bit, and you mentioned that jumping ship twice and then
Mhm.
starting your own business,
Mhm.
let's go back to purpose because
Yeah.
although we've talked about, a lot of things that kind of like got you here, was there a time that you wanted to give up and what helped you keep going?
Was there a time I wanted to give? Co- If you're watching on YouTube, you should see my face right now. Yeah.
Duh.
Which time?
Yeah.
Which time do we want to talk about?
I can't even count how many times I wanted to like, let me take this computer and chuck it out the window.
Girl.
Seriously. I think I had that thought just last week, friend.
Yeah, legit. Like, yes, of course. Of course
Yeah.
I want to give up. Of course it's like really hard sometimes. And also, I've been around the sun often enough to like know like, okay, those feelings come and go.
Yeah.
Business highs and lows come and go. There is seasonality to everything, even our emotions as we're going throughout the day. Like the number of times that I want to like lose my mind yelling at my kid,
Yeah.
and then he does something really cute, and I'm like, oh, I turn into a puddle of mush and just sweet softness. Like, everything
Seriously.
comes and
Yeah.
goes. And I think it's that understanding that everything is temporary.
And it really is.
Everything. Everything. Even this entire grand life that we get to live, like this whole thing is temporary.
Yeah. And oftentimes I hear like, well, that seems a little bit morbid. But if we really take a step back and if you're putting so much emphasis, because I would do this, right? Like life and death thoughts of like, if I do this and I fail and oh my gosh, y'all, my mind goes there. Really, it's not that big of a deal because we're here to live a life of journey and we get to choose that we get to sit
Yep.
comfortably and do nothing, or
Yep.
we get to take these leaps because it is right. Like you are writing your eulogy every day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, really.
Yeah.
Really. Like we get this one life, and let me clarify my point of view on life and how precious it is and how temporary it is
Yeah.
comes from my lived experience of having a little brother who, when I was 2 years old, he was born into this world. He was 3 months premature.
Wow.
So you can only imagine the developmental issues he has faced. I mean, he was in the NICU for at least a few months.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he's fully deaf from birth. He's never been able to hear.
Mm,
Every time I hear the birds sing, I'm like, wow, what a blessing.
what a blessing.
I
Yeah.
get to hear that. I get to hear that.
Mm,
You know? And he has major cognitive issues. One of them is diagnosed as autism. Full throttle. I don't know what the scale is because
y-
this was the 90s when he was born. So there was zero language back then.
Right. Yeah.
So he's like he's 20.
Nonverbal, I would venture to say. Yeah.
Yeah, nonverbal, exactly, and he's 24/7 in a care facility, and that's his existence,
Yeah.
and I hope he's cool with it. I hope he feels fulfilled and all of the things,
Yeah.
and from my point of view, like, again, I get to hear the birds sing, I get to take a risk, I get to do all of these scary things
Mhm.
and live. So why not?
So why not?
What a what a disservice it would be to him if I didn't.
Mm. Yes. And I think sometimes when we talk about, I guess we would title this word as like comparison, right? But
Mhm.
really, when we can have that viewpoint to just take a moment in perspective and
Yes.
be able to challenge that a little bit, comparison isn't always a bad thing because it is humbling, right? Like we
Mhm.
do have to r- really find moments of gratitude. And if in those moments we can't find the gratitude because it's a hard moment, take a step back because there's people who would wish on anything to be able to be where you're at or to be able to have
Yeah.
the capabilities to do what you can do
Yeah.
and what better more beautiful way to honor people around us that don't have that is by living to our full potential and being able to do that in honor of
Mhm.
people who cannot, not
Yep.
because of, but in honor
No.
of. And that's such a beautiful
Yes.
way to add that gratitude on top. I remember so many times, and I mean, this is taking it on such a minute scale, but I think it's so important that we realize the big spectrum that we can take this is, I wake up in the morning and at 4 a.m. to go to the gym at 5 in the morning. And there's many times that I tell myself, I could just sleep in, right? I can
Mhm.
just not go. And there was time I had a really good friend who could not go to the gym. He actually was shot in the middle of service, of
Mm.
duty. And I thought to myself, and I remember thinking, just do this for him. Like if you
Mhm.
can't find within yourself of why you're going to do this for you, because sometimes we forget those moments.
Yeah.
I got to and in my mind, and I'm not even sure I've shared this with him many times, but in my mind, I'm like, I get to honor you. Like I want to put that
Mhm.
energy out there that I get to
Yeah.
do this and share this with you in honor of you and send my energy that like you've got this. And I think that
Yeah.
that's such a beautiful way. Again, soul sisters to the core here. I think that's such a beautiful way to honor those people around us and tell
Yeah.
those parts of me that are like, meh. I'm like, girl, quiet it up. You can do
Mhm.
this. You have every resource to be able to do this. Get your
Mhm.
butt out of freaking bed.
Mhm. Mhm. Kudos to you waking up at 4 and waking out waking up at 4 and working out at 5. Like that's I'm
No,
inspired.
no, nobody. Not very many people want to be around me if I don't get to do that a few times a week, at least. I've gotten to that point, like business ownership, mom of teenagers, pouring so much into other people. I
Mhm.
had to find a space, and it's a CrossFit gym at 5 in the morning with the loudest music, and I get to throw weights around, and my energy is back, baby.
I love that for you. I love that for you. I hear a recognition of like where you're at in life, right? You're
Yeah,
pouring into everybody else's cup and so your cup therefore needs to be full. And
yeah,
that is your way of refilling your cup. It's
yeah.
that grounding.
Yeah. And I was not like, this is not my season for yoga. If I had to sit in silence with like calming music for more than 20 minutes, it's just not my jam right now. So we have to figure out where our jam is. And I'll pepper that in. I need those moments for sure, but I need that big energy right now. And so I think it's so important as you share. And thank you for sharing about your sweet brother. What is his name?
His name's Christopher.
Oh, Christopher, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
about Christopher because I think this is just such that like listening to ourselves, honoring people around us, and finding going back to that like why. Like
Mhm.
finding that purpose in almost everything that we do, from moving our body to starting businesses to listening to the freaking birds chirp and find gratitude in that moment. Talk
Mhm.
about your ability you mentioned earlier about learning to have peace with peace. I would venture to
Yeah.
say like a lot of this that we just talked about is really the practice to that point, right? Like many of us will miss the sound of the birds. We'll be just going through our day, busy, busy, busy bees, and not even take a moment to be like, "Oh, I love those birds. I
Oh
love the
my
sound of those birds."
gosh. Yes, let me tell you. So becoming a mother shifted the way that I view pouring back into my cup.
Mhm.
Because at the same time that I found out I was pregnant, that was when I had started my agency. So I was freelancing for a long time, and then I started the agency. And of course, a month after I found out I was pregnant, it was like this
Go big or go
crazy,
home.
like, exactly, right? Like, what is this learning curve now? It's insane. But what I've had the privilege of getting to learn through motherhood is that when there is a moment to either take action or to sleep or
Mm,
to play with the kid, like whatever that moment calls for, seizing it.
mm.
Because before, the way that I spent time was very like, I don't know, I've got 16 waking hours. I've always needed a lot of sleep. So I've got like 16, 15 waking hours,
Yeah.
and I can just spend all of it on work, and that's okay. Like that felt fine in that moment. Now as a mom, it's not like that. My
Right.
day is very, very chopped up and structured so that everything has a place. And I try not to be so black and white, like, okay, I clock in and now I'm in work mode. Like, no, there has to be like a transition period in between that and giving myself grace.
Yeah, forget about trying to be, like, black and white and, like, to a you got a toddler, they're like, "You're cute." Nope.
Right. They're like my mini boss. He tells me what to do all day. Like
Yes.
yeah. So it's like finding peace through all of that has been sacred. It has
Mm.
become my new practice. So it's like, say, for example, there's a moment where he does something that I don't like very much, and it starts to get my temperature rising, and I feel my face getting hot, and I know I'm getting into angry mom mode.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, take a breath.
Yeah.
He's 3. He has no idea what he's doing. Or if he does, whatever. Like, I'm the
Right.
adult here.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? And sometimes, like, yeah, sometimes I do like let off the steam and I yell,
Yeah.
right? That'll happen.
"What? You're human?"
I know. I'm human
What?
in this age of AI. Can you imagine? Like,
I know.
yeah, actual humans still exist. Yeah,
Yes.
we're allowed to be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah. So
permission
it's like,
over here.
thank you.
Yeah. Same here. I'm like, I yell way more than I'd like to, and I'm still working on it. I hear oftentimes, like, "You're the professional, you know?" I'm like, I'm also human, and I have lived
Right.
experiences that, like, you would have thought at one point my middle name was yelling. So working on that is
Right.
a joy, and it is a work in progress always, depending on the capacity of the day,
Work
right?
in progress. It's so real. And I'll tell you what, because it's a work in progress, when I do have some magical capacity to be able to like bring it back down, like
Yeah.
maybe I'm taking the breath and that's enough. Or maybe I walk into another room
Yes.
and I just like pound, like I just like beat the pillow up and
Mm.
like get it out that way, whatever it is. Like when I am able to come back down to like, okay, I'm grounded, I'm able to handle this situation, that's a call for celebration.
Huge
And I just
celebration.
take that. Yeah,
Yes, I was over
just
here
take
like,
it.
for those watching on YouTube, I was over here like dancing because I'm like, I was already celebrating you before you even said it because we have to celebrate those moments. Because if we're only beating ourselves up when we didn't respond the way that we
Yep.
want to,
Mhm.
then it's not going to be a very joyous journey at all.
It doesn't work. Let me tell you, as a recovering perfectionist, you mentioned
Mm,
earlier that you've dealt with perfectionism. Like, same. I'm recovering perfectionist. It is
yeah,
such a journey to not instantly go into beat myself up mode
right.
and be like, oh my God, why couldn't you have done that better?
You should have
It's like,
done
well,
this. I had a therapist
yeah.
one time say, you got to stop shitting all over yourself.
Mhm.
I use
It's
that
so
all the
real.
time. Like,
It's
man,
so
you're shitting all
real.
over yourself. Calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually a really cool trigger word to
Yeah.
help reactivate the other part of my brain that's saying, you know what? Okay, I am human. I am
Yeah.
allowed to just be. As soon as I hear myself start to say should,
Right.
that's the moment where I go, oh, okay, it's time to like take another breath
Mhm.
and give myself grace.
Yeah.
Grace has been like the word of the day lately.
Yeah.
Just giving everybody grace. We're all doing our best. My
Yeah.
kid is learning. I'm learning how to be a mom. I've never done this before,
Right.
all on top of like the demands of running a business and running my podcast, which that's actually my outlet. So
Right.
I hardly call it a demand, but yeah.
Yeah, we just get to chat about real
Yeah.
things and hope that one of y'all listening hears something that you thought or you were shitting on yourself and you're like, "Oh, Megan does this? Kayla does this?"
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all, we do. And just because the social media reels or whatever may put our businesses at the forefront or those happy moments at the forefront, and I try and I mean, you tell me, but I do try to show up as real as I can. Like you're going to get me in business as you're going to get me anywhere else, you know, and just trying to keep that consistency because that's really important for me. I
Yeah.
I am not a huge energy person that's going to walk into the room with a ton of energy. I'm going to stay really in tuned with that and I get to enjoy that. And that's like just the person that I am
Yeah.
and no matter what capacity I'm in and I think that comes with a lot of practice, right? Like you're saying like
Mhm.
being present, having peace in those moments that we're not just beating ourselves up or, shoot, we're women. It's not all
Mhm.
month that we have all this energy to pour into our business and pour into our kids and pour into ourselves. There's times that
Mhm.
I just want to lay in bed with the blanket over my head and do nothing.
100%. Yep. Just give me my heating pad and leave me alone. Like, let me do nothing.
Yeah,
Yep.
cry for no
Yep.
reason every once in a while.
Yep.
This home runs are wild,
They're
wild.
so I hate why? Why?
I know. I know. I just did, a podcast right before ours that, I posted not too long ago and she's a functional medicine doctor and it has
Oh.
been so enlightening to listen to her and just do some meetups and things like that that it just is normalizing like women especially in 2026, especially if you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond that we don't just muster through all the time. Like we all have these hormones that we're trying to figure out
Yes.
and we just didn't talk about it for a long time. So, the women before us, I'm like giving y'all the biggest of hugs because
Mhm.
you just had to like grin and bear it and push it down and I mean,
Mm.
perimenopause, menopause is just starting to get talked about. So,
Mm.
oh, all my women before us, it's like huge hug collectively. And we'll
The
keep talking about it
biggest
for our girls behind us.
Oh my gosh, the biggest hugs. Seriously. I
Yeah.
have a client who is she calls herself a woman of a certain age, which I just love
Oh,
the
I
way she
love
says it. She's so
that.
cute. She's so cute. And she's like, "Kayla, you seem off today. Are you PMSing?" And I'm like, "You know what? We'll find out next week. I don't know. We'll see."
We're
I
there.
just love having yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
We're there. I just love having like some of these relationships I've been able to build up like over time. We
Yeah.
can be our fullest selves with.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Well, and I would venture to say, and I love that for you. And I feel like that's like the relationships that we get to choose to have. And, going back to like that
Mhm.
getting uncomfortable in order to do these things. And now it sounds like you've gotten to a space that maybe some of this space isn't as uncomfortable because we know how important these conversations are. We know
Yeah.
our purpose behind this. So
Yeah.
when we go back to that purpose and we want to throw the towel in, right? Maybe 10
Mhm.
times a day. Maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you anchor in? How do you anchor in those really tough days?
Oh, that's so good. My biggest anchor is my support system.
Yeah.
And the biggest slice of that pie is my husband, fortunately. I
Shout out to
was
our husbands.
Shout out to our husbands,
Yeah.
and let me just say, I was incredibly intentional when we were dating. I went through a series of relationships before him,
Yeah.
not great, but I was always quick to just, like, cut the cord, be like, "You know what? I
Mm.
don't think this relationship is working, we gotta go." And there was call it confidence maybe or an understanding of my own value or
Yeah.
maybe an understanding of what it is that I wanted out of life. Like I knew that I wanted if I knew that if I was going to have a partner, that partner was going to be solid.
Yeah.
And that was the lens that I dated with.
Yeah.
So if
Kudos
I
to
came
you. That's
across
hard. Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. I also had the opportunity to learn that the hard way,
Right.
which I won't go too deep into, but you can
Yeah.
imagine. And so having that lens while dating, that made it so much easier to just be like, you know what, you're gone, you're gone, you're not for me. That's fine. And the the person who I cut off right before I met my husband actually got me to the point where I was like, you know what? If I am single for the rest of my life, okay, that's fine. I like me. I can hang out with me for the rest of my life.
I
Like
love that for you. Yes, we've
we're
got to love
good.
ourselves.
We have to. We
Yeah.
have to. And there was something in that letting go that took off any residual pressures.
Yeah.
And so when I met my husband, I was totally just like, "Hey, hi. Like I'm Kayla. This is all of me.
Here I am.
You
Yeah.
know, if you're with it, cool. If you're not, all right, that's fine because I still get to have all of me."
Right.
And this is like not conceited. I feel like as women, we can paint ourselves as like, oh, we're asking for too much and we're too full of ourselves and
You know what's
we
so
just have to
funny
stay
is because
small.
I heard you saying that and I
Yeah.
heard the noise and you obviously heard
Mhm.
the noise too. Like, ooh, somebody's gonna
Mhm.
have something to say about this. I feel
Mhm.
this. And you're
Mhm.
so right. And now as I've done that work and I've learned to love myself before I got into, my marriage as well, is it's one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself for my women listening, for my dudes listening. Get to know yourself, get to know the tough parts of yourself, get to know the ugly parts of yourself, right? Like we have those
Yes.
moments that we've got to face those parts of ourselves so that
Mhm.
can become a bigger whole of the version that we want to be within alignment to our values. And that's a
Mhm.
question, it's so interesting that even when I worked in psychiatric hospitals, so I would do a lot of biopsychosocial assessments, which is just the 150 questions to get to know you to help diagnose. And one of the hardest questions that I would ask that clients would have a hard time with is, "Tell me a little bit about your values. What do you value in life?"
Ooh.
And oftentimes they're like, what are you talking about?" And I remember when I first, was in school for social work, I was like, I've got to get really in tuned with this. I don't know if I would be able to recite that, you know, at a drop of a hat. But in order for me to ask these
Mhm.
questions correctly and be able to guide other people through, I had to do some deep work there. Although I
Mhm.
thought I did the deep work within my values, there was a lot of things that I was out of alignment with within my values, and I didn't even notice it. Hence the health, right? Like I was going too fast, doing too much and
Mhm.
so it's so beautiful, kind of really going back to your conversation, like what you were saying, is what a beautiful gift that you took the time to know yourself so well and be able to share that with a partner, because now you get to easily share, like, this isn't sitting well. This is sitting well. Let's work on this. In
Mhm.
order to have my needs met, I need this. What a beautiful gift
Mhm.
to give our partners, right? If we know enough about ourselves that we can go
Yep.
into a relationship solid. And it's not too late, you guys. So if you're in a relationship and you're listening and you're like,
Mhm.
my relationship's off, my values are off, marriage therapy, I mean, there's a ton of support out there that it's not too late to learn about yourself and then help that relationship become stronger. And I can't speak that for
Yeah.
everybody. I'm really overgeneralizing there, but I love that for you. And there's nothing wrong. You don't sound conceited. You don't sound
Cool.
good for you
Good.
for doing the work, because you had to have done a lot of work around that.
Oh, girl, it's so much work, so much work. Different therapists, life coaches, mentors, all of the things. And to your point, like, yeah, if you're in a relationship and you feel like something's off, therapy is right there. It's
Yeah.
it's it's accessible. I mean, it can be expensive. That's a whole different. Let's talk.
Right.
That's a different
I have
conversation.
resources. So if you need resources, just reach out to me. So yes, leaving
Perfect.
that there.
Great.
Yes.
There we go. Great. See, there we go. Hit up Megan.
Yes.
Exactly. And I'll share, like, my husband and I have done our rounds of therapy too. Like, it wasn't
Same.
all rainbows and butterflies.
Mm-mm.
Like, I didn't just like, oh, I'm the best and okay, now I'm in a great relationship and we walk off into the sunset. No.
No.
Like, we've had moments. We've had ruts to like work through. And if anything, I'm grateful for those ruts because
Yeah.
now we're even stronger. We had the opportunity to work through it, and I'm even stronger because of it. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Same. Ditto. Ditto. Marriage therapy was such a blessing. We got to learn even more
Yes.
about ourselves in a different season. You add kids in to a marriage, and that shifts a whole ton of things. And it can poke at some of those points that you didn't even know were there.
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, like, started the business, had the baby, and I wasn't I wasn't expecting how much energy was required. This is gonna sound really dumb in
No.
hindsight, but, like,
I hear you.
I was not I was not ready for the energy that was required to birth the baby, recover from birthing the baby, feed the baby with my body,
Right.
like, all of the things. It was so much, and I actually ended up falling into a postpartum depression.
Mm.
So, like, that was its own journey for me to, like, walk through. But then sometime after that, it was like, "Okay, I'm restabilized.
Yeah.
The baby's still alive, so we're
Winning.
kudos, we're doing it. We're doing
Yes.
things, yeah."
Hmm.
And now, okay, let's think about our relationship. How are we doing? Let's touch base with each other. And, sure enough, like, we were totally just thrown out of whack after that whole
Absolutely.
mind-blowing experience. Yeah, and that's when we went to therapy for the second or third time. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
as we talked about, like, anchoring is that's such a beautiful area to highlight is, again, on the surface and same, like, again, soul sisters, y'all, is my husband and I have been married for a very long time, and both kids, it was that adjustment period was so rough. It just threw us off, and we thought we were, like, good with the second one, and girl, that threw me off even more, and
Mhm.
and so being able to have that foundation to go back and be like, I'm not okay. Let's touch base and
Mhm.
let's work on this." I think,
Yeah.
like, having that solid partner, but then also within yourself being able to, like, be honest that, postpartum depression is real.
Mhm.
My dudes go through a lot of adjustment periods too. And I,
Yeah.
I work with a lot of males who they're like, after my first kid, after my second kid, like, I don't even know, like, I don't have my boundaries. I don't have my footing yet.
Yeah.
And so I love highlighting that because, it's not as highlighty real as we want
Yeah.
parenting and these adjustment periods to be. So I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you shared that working on that and not doing that alone and getting the supports
Mhm.
in there. And so when you don't have your partner, let me ask you, when you're trying to I mean, you have your partner, don't get me wrong, but when
Yeah.
you're trying to muster through and you're having those tough days and you're like, I found peace with peace, how do you anchor in those tough days? If you're having a tough moment, to show up for the next client, to show up for your toddler, what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I think first and foremost, it's learning the signs of
Yeah.
when I'm starting to spin out,
Going back
right?
to
And
learning
that
about ourselves. Dang it.
I know, I'm sorry guys. I wish I had like more clear-cut things for you, but that's really what it's about. Like you just
Yeah.
have to like you got to sit with yourself. You got to listen to yourself
Hmm.
and for me, when I'm starting to spin out and not feel great,
Yeah.
I tend to feel tired all
Hmm.
the time. I'm just lethargic. I don't want to do anything. That's a big signal. Okay. I either need rest because that's
Hmm.
a true component to healing, or I need some sort of activity. Like I've got
Yeah.
to work my mind or I've got to work my body somehow. Like maybe I'm stuck in like a mundane rut and I've got to break it up a bit.
Yeah.
And so like for example, like during like the postpartum depression, that was a major red flag. I
Right.
was like, I don't want to do anything. And then the intrusive thoughts started to happen. That was another red flag for me.
Yeah.
I started to think of like worst case scenarios and
Mhm.
even scenarios where I was like, I was the main actor in that scenario doing rough things,
Yeah, I
you
love
know?
that, and I think that, to highlight that is really being that, like, and the kids use it a lot, like the main character energy, and we've just
Mhm.
talked so much about gratitude and being present and slowing down our thoughts. When you notice that it's all about you and everything's on you and all the things on you,
Mhm.
that's a really good warning that something is
Yep.
off because that's not functioning in your highest capacity at all.
No.
So, yeah,
No.
thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah.
And so when you started to
Yeah.
notice that, as we've talked about that support and that help, and now that you have these lived experiences, where were you gonna take us? Like, what do you now? You've noticed all these things, these early warning signs. That's a huge key. So let me highlight
Mhm.
that again. You've got to know your early warning signs. I'm tired. I'm
Mhm.
lethargic. I'm grumpier than normal. I'm yelling more than
Mhm.
normal.
Yep.
And you are in a creative industry.
Mhm.
Those creative juices like have got to be flowing at all times. So I would venture to say that you have to be really careful about burnout.
Oh my gosh, I have to protect my energy like no other.
Hmm.
I have to be very careful about who I'm around, right? But
Yeah,
sometimes there are people who are just
training.
they're draining. They're draining, and this isn't to judge. This
No.
is just to observe,
Hmm.
observe how I'm feeling around specific people.
Yeah.
Also observing my environment. Is the house kept up? Have I like let go on some things? And sometimes that's intentional, right? Sometimes I need to just not do the cleaning or
What? You
whatever it
can't be
is.
100 places at once?
Exactly, right? Right. But then there are other times where it's like, wow, like for example, over the weekend, I had a rough previous weekend. So over this weekend, I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? I'm going to spend it the way that I want to spend it. I'm not going to do anything for everybody else. I am going to I'm not going to go to that birthday party.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to go out into my garden. I'm going to clean it up the way that I've been wanting to clean it up for 3 months now, you know?
Yes.
And after having done that, I felt much better. So it's keeping an eye on like how I'm feeling based on my environment, based on the people that I'm surrounding myself with, and acting accordingly.
Yeah.
So if I'm around certain people who make me feel less than for some reason, or I don't like that term "make me feel" because nobody can make me feel anything.
Oh, I
But
love that. Yeah, shout it. Shout that louder for those in the back, right? No one has that power to make me feel less than. That's our
no one
choice
has
to
that
give
power.
them that power.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like it is our choice. Now, emotions come and go, right? We don't have
Again.
control over that, right? But we do have control over how we are exposing ourselves into the world, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, if there are some people who I feel less than around, okay, then I'm just not going to hang out with them. Um
Yeah.
if my again like I mentioned before, if my environment isn't what I'd like it to be, then I have control over that. I can do something about it.
Yeah.
But it is a give and take, right?
Right.
Understanding like I want to nourish relationships, so I show up when I want to nourish relationships. If there are times when I have to nourish my own relationship with myself, then I'm just going to take it easy and
Yeah.
relax,
So I'm
you know?
hearing like
It's all a
permission to
balance.
rest, permission to actually do when you need that creative side in another direction. And I think that that's really
Mhm.
important, especially in the work that you do. I mean, things in the digital world are shifting so fast. And so, how do you ground yourself when everything is coming so fast? I mean, AI is in our face. I mean, I turn on my computer and hit the internet icon, and I've become really, really intentional about like clicking on the funny dog videos or the cat, whatever, like animal funny videos, because it is so jarring sometimes to just open the computer in the work that you do, what I do, and we see the worst of the worst happening, and I hear a lot of that influx, right? So I would venture to say, I mean, I opened up a can of worms there, so I'll close that up by just saying, like, as we talk about this, as this world is shifting so fast on the digital side when you do this work, how do you ground in that to just stay present in what you're doing and stay, keep those creative juices flowing in that moment? We talked
Mhm.
about some of the things in the back end, but in that moment when you just get hit with something like we just are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a practice. I'll say with social media, just log out. Just log
Yeah.
out and make it difficult to log back in. Whether it's setting like a crazy Google generated password that has
Good
15
idea.
characters, like,
Yeah.
yeah, make it difficult for you to fall back into the habits
Mm.
that don't feel good.
Yeah.
So that'd be the one thing. And then also just staying grounded with my values. You've touched on values earlier, which was so important. Just remembering what feels good to me, what is something that I want to impress on the world,
Yeah.
both now and after I leave.
I
And
love that.
is this new technology helping that or hurting that?
That's a
You know,
great
it's not,
question. Yeah.
it's never black and white. There is room for gray area and giving grace to that.
Yeah.
But just understanding myself, understanding what I want and how I want to help the world, and just moving forward with that in mind.
I love that, just asking yourself the question. And I do the same thing. It was an accident because I really don't know how I did it. I'm sure I can ask chat how I did it, but when my phone goes into, like, sleep mode, or if I've had too many hours on my phone, whatever it may be, because
Mm.
as an entrepreneur, we can give ourselves all the excuses of, like, why we're on social media and, like, "Oh, I'm doing research," but
Yeah.
really, essentially, if I'm doom scrolling, that's not serving my purpose of what I'm doing, and so when
Yeah.
when my mind goes into sleep mode, or if I've had too much time, it goes in black and white. And, like, the
Love
color goes away, and
that.
it's so less
Yeah.
entertaining to not have
Mhm.
color, and so,
Mhm.
my brain is like, "It's not that big of a," like, I'm not so interested anymore, so you have to find, what works for you, especially in this digital world. So, as we wrap up this conversation, because you and I can be here for 5 hours, and like we said,
Oh
we'll
my
have
gosh,
to
yeah.
do another one. I Please tell those that are listening, how do they find your amazing talent? What are you up to? Bring us into your work world too.
Yeah, yeah, my work world. So I've got Umari Digital. Umari Digital is a marketing agency that handles websites and other online marketing for small business owners, so that small business owners don't have to worry about getting that done. Right?
Yeah.
There's a huge learning curve with learning how to build a website, learning how to do all of the different marketing channels, which there are a billion.
Right. No,
And so
seriously.
yeah, seriously. And so we go in, we analyze we analyze the business, and we say, okay, this is what we can prescribe, right? This is what can be
Yeah.
needed for your business. It's very tailored. We're not going to throw things at business owners that they don't need to waste their money or time on.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and we handle the A to Z. So and there are some business owners who are DIY. That's fine. We can structure things in a way that's more DIY friendly.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're just here to serve and make sure that the business owner can focus on what they do best. So that's Umari Digital. Uh, you could go to www.umari.digital to learn more and contact us.
Beautiful.
The other major portion of my world is the podcast. So
Yeah.
the podcast is called Bringing Up Business. It's on all of the major channels, and we talk about what it's like to quote unquote balance
Yeah.
parenthood and businesshood. And so we dive deep. We focus mainly on business and how to scale up, but we definitely do talk about how to show up for your kids too at the same time.
Yeah, and I will link both of those in the show notes so that you guys can click on that. I'm super excited. I'll give like a little teaser. I get to be on your podcast coming up in a few
Yes. I'm
months.
so
So,
excited. Yeah.
I get to see you again and spend time with you. And I just want to say thank you so much for what you do. It's really shown and felt that you are so purpose driven in your life. I love to be around that energy, and
Mm.
though, thank you for sharing your lived experiences and how you overcame those and learned from those difficult times. It was so, so good to spend time with you. Thank you.
Oh, Megan, thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you gained what you needed to hear today. Healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about the strength of moving forward. If today's episode resonated with you, take a moment to share it with someone you love, because when we share with love, we help to break the stigma together. If you want to connect with me and learn more about what we're doing over at Mental Summit to break these stigmas, please connect with me over at mymentalsummit.com. Keep showing up, keep growing, keep going together, and remember you're not alone in this.